Hey, all right. We are live. It's Friday morning, and we're here Friday with friends, and we've got my good friend Brett Sikora from New Jersey, all the way from Hoboken, New Jersey. How are we doing today, Brett?
I'm doing well, man. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So I want to just touch base with everybody just to see how things are going and how's the market. So for anybody who's listening, if you've ever thought about moving to New Jersey, Hoboken especially, Brett is the guy you want to talk to. So we're going to talk all about what's going on in New Jersey, how the real estate market is, and learn more about Brett and his team and everything that's going on in New Jersey. So if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the comments, and we'll get to them during our chat. So Brett, tell us about what's going on in New Jersey nowadays.
So New Jersey is interesting because throughout a lot of the country, everybody is just absolutely booming when it comes to real estate, and they can't keep up with everything. And what's interesting here is Hoboken, Jersey City based, in that urban setting, we're almost mirroring exactly what New York City is doing, where people are leaving our area. The amount of inventory is growing, and it's become more of a buyer's market, less of a seller's market. And it's keeping us on our toes. And what's interesting with that is we also, we hug a 90-minute radius of New York City too. So we sell, stuff down at the Jersey Shore, stuff in Princeton and Central Jersey. We're actually all the way down in South Jersey now, but we haven't recorded any sales there. That's a newer launch. But because of that, we have clients leaving our area that are having issues selling their homes, but then they're in bidding wars on the properties that they're trying to buy out in the suburbs near the rail line. So it's a very interesting market that we're juggling right now, and stuff's flying, stuff's moving, but we have to stay on our toes.
Yeah, so it sounds pretty interesting. People are in bidding wars where they're buying, but they're having trouble selling.
Yeah, and I think that's one, and also renting too, I should say. We have in Hoboken and Jersey City, we have so much rental inventory right now. We still have people looking to move to the area. So what's happening with that, or at least in my opinion, is if you have a good product, if you have beautiful new construction, or if you actually renovated post 2016, post 2017, when the styles changed to more of a white, ashy floors kind of thing, and more grays, navy cabinets, or just something a little more fun as opposed to your typical earth tone 2012 2013 renovation. People are moving into it. They're still renting it. They're still purchasing it, and they're paying good prices for it. But they're just sick and tired of deferred maintenance and people who got away with not renovating homes since 2002. It just doesn't fly anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing a lot of that. Everybody likes the whites and the grays. The browns and the beiges. They've kind of like been a little bit pushed aside. The wood grain, people prefer the white cabinets and with gray undertones and all that sort of stuff. That's really the big trends right now.
Yeah. Everything has like a very West Elm or CB2 kind of look with the brass finishes and the gold fixtures, gold faucets. So what we've been doing too, and this is actually pretty cool. We partnered with Legion Pro, and they're a contractor, and they'll actually work with you, around financing options and stuff like that as well. So we're seeing a lot of things where, all right, if we're selling 1,000 square foot condo, you might be able to get away with putting 20, 25 grand in it, but it's going to net you another $40,000 or $50,000. So, if money's a concern, then, maybe you put $10,000 down, and then you can finance through them the rest of it at a reasonable rate. We're talking nothing crazy here. They're not trying to club you, but that this is the first time in a long time that we're having that conversation, that if you really want to sell with how much inventory we have, this is not a bad route to go.
Yeah, absolutely. The idea of putting $25,000 in sounds pretty daunting, but if you're talking about getting 40 out, that's tremendous. I mean, I talk all the time about, how are we going to, if you're willing to spend money, we can spend $1, but we want to make sure we're making $2 on that spend. Mm-hmm. Otherwise it doesn't make sense. Right.
And the other thing is too, it just won't sell. So you won't even make any dollar. It's just going to just sit there like the rest of them. So, that's kind of what we're doing right now to pivot and stay ahead of everything and make sure that, our sellers are still netting the most amount of money on these sales. Sometimes it's as simple as paint. Sometimes you can just paint a unit for $3,000, and it makes a complete difference. So, anywhere in between there, we're certainly giving the advice around it.
Yeah, paint is definitely cheap, and it's an easy fix. And it just creates a great first impression, having that first coat of paint on there.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, we've had issues. We had a cleaner and a painter go over. This is just a rental unit. We had them go over yesterday because we're able to get people through based on our marketing. But then when they come in, they don't have the feeling that you're talking about, where they don't feel all warm and fuzzy, and they're like, this kind of feels tired. So we're gonna give it a fresh coat of paint. We're gonna get it all cleaned, and it's gonna pop a lot better.
Yeah. Now, are you seeing any fixer-uppers, and how is that in the market?
Yeah, so they're coming through. That's actually another interesting thing. A lot of people that are leaving the urban setting, they don't want to get into the fixer-upper. They want their property and they want it now. They want to move into it. They want more space. They want a backyard. They want a grill. They want a swimming pool. So with that, they're willing to pay more for those properties that are already turnkey and ready to go. And significantly more, I should say, too. I mean, we just saw one in Westfield that sold for 1.6 million. They bought, I want to say, for 500. They probably put 600 into it. So the developer's getting a pretty nice spread. Whereas if and obviously there's carrying costs and everything on top of that too. But if somebody wanted to actually go and do the work themselves and had the right contractor and had the funds and the means available to do so, there is an opportunity to make some decent money or purchase a home and then possibly refinance out once you're done with the construction with a decent amount of equity. But the key thing is wanting to do that work. And I can tell you, it's not all fun. It's not always a good thing. So
yeah, not everybody wants to get their hands dirty. I mean, we've seen, for many years, all the people doing HGTV renovations, because we watch it and they're like, oh, I can do this and I can do that. But I think it's starting to shift, and people are like, I just want to move in. I don't want to have to do work.
Yeah,
we're seeing a lot of that now too.
Yeah, and I could tell you too, from the HGTV side of things, I'm in it. I'm very involved in this business and very involved on the renovation side of things too. We have a decent amount of projects going at any given time. And even I shot a video last Friday, actually 1 week ago, with my third contractor on a project. So it's my third one in, and I'm in the business and I know what I'm doing, and I'm still kind of getting screwed by this whole thing. So I've owned what was supposed to be like an 8-month project, start to finish. I've owned it for 2.5 years now.
2.5 years?
2.5 years.
Oh my gosh.
I've switched contractors. This is now the third one that I have in there, and it's actually moving along quite well this time around. But yeah, people have to be, prepared for that there are, it doesn't go like it does on TV every time, and I've had some really quick ones. Everything went perfect as well. So don't get me wrong. Things have been fine with that, but yeah, it
wasn't over in 30 minutes.
What's that?
It wasn't over in 30 minutes.
It wasn't. No, it's not 30 minutes, unfortunately. but there's some people out there that do fly, and that's the good thing. But yeah, I mean, I've had contractors that are great on 3 projects, and then the fourth one, I don't know what happens. I can't be in their brain, but something happens there. So, yeah.
So for all the people listening that have ever thought about moving to Hoboken in New Jersey in general, what are the 3 things that people need to understand about moving there?
Well, I can tell you if all you've ever seen is the Newark airport, it gets a lot better when you start to get 15, 20 minutes away from there. If you've only ever been on the New Jersey Turnpike, there are some beautiful hills and mountains and everything, trees, everything. So yeah, when you're 30 to 45 minutes outside of New York City, you can be in a very communal rail town that has a train station that gets you right into New York City. Typical lot size would maybe be 25 by 100, 50 by 100, up to, a half acre if you're willing, half acre, maybe more if you're willing to pay, up in the 1.7, 2 million plus in some of the nice towns that we have here. But if you're looking to go a little bit further out, if you want 5 acres, you can still be to New York City in under an hour. You're just not directly on a rail line, and you lose that downtown feel. So I'm 34 years old. And typically what I see within our database of clients is we work with a lot of affluent buyers and a lot of people, good price points, white collar, and typically, just got married, had their first kid. They're not willing to give up that downtown scene. So obviously things are a little bit different with COVID, but they still want to have that place where they can go out to dinner, have a beer after work, or go grab dinner, bring their daughter, that sort of thing. So typically people will stay, somewhat close to one of those rail line towns.
So it's easy access to New York in general, right?
Yeah, we're the tri-state area, so a lot of people come from New York City to this side, just as they would to go to Long Island or Connecticut or Greenwich on the other side of things. So they seem to make a decision when they're ready to leave New York City. They're going to either come this way, and it's usually driven by where is their family. So they'll go out that way because you don't want to go from 45 minutes outside of the city on this side to cross over to 45 minutes outside of the city on the other side, because that doesn't equate to an hour and a half drive. That's a nightmare. So that's what drives it. And yeah, we are just similar markets to, what San Francisco would be the Bay Area, that sort of, as you're starting to get a little bit out of the actual city setting.
Okay. And how are prices right now? I mean, for, a 3 or 4 bedroom house, about 2,000 square feet, what are you typically seeing for prices?
So it depends on the town too. So if you're going into those like 9 out of 10 school system sort of towns, I mean, the okay, like the decent stuff starts, it's 800 ish for like a nice renovated, sort of home, call it a 3-bed, 4-bed house with 2 full baths. When you start to get outside of that a little bit, you can kind of stay more in like that 500 to 600, price point for 2,000 square feet. But that's like, we actually just listed a property in Ridgewood, which is one of the most desirable towns in New Jersey. And that is 3,300 square feet. It's a 5-bed, 4.5 bath, and that's 1.25, just to kind of, so that's like a nice, family home. So that's, I'd say like a little over 1 is where you hit the sweet spot in the most desirable towns. And then, a little under 700, 800 is a popular price point for us.
So are you seeing a lot of first-time buyers? I mean, that price point doesn't seem to go real well with your general first-time buyers.
We are. And, we're lucky to be in an area that a lot of my business is generated from Hoboken and downtown Jersey City. So it's not uncommon that, we have dual income earners that are making, 250, 300 plus a year, or single earners making 300, 400. So yeah, they may be first-time home buyers. And it's typically not the income that's the issue. It's saving for the down payment. Too many people within my generation like to go to Greece, like to go to Italy, those $15,000 vacations, and those all add up. So it's that it's that initial down payment. But we've even had high earners that they'll buy something for 1.4 million, and we still have products that they can do only 10% down. So it's not the payment that scares them. It's that chunk of money and saving it up that creates the issue. Okay,
and we hear a lot. I've heard a lot about property taxes being pretty bad in New Jersey. Tell me about that a little bit. I know they're bad here.
Yeah. So Hoboken, which is actually one of the best in the state, I think we're top 30. I believe I was just reading something recently that it's typically about, it hovers right around 1% or so of the sale price is what the article I was reading had it averaged out at. I think if you actually look at our tax rate code, I think it's 1.4%. But if you get into other towns, like Newark, for instance, in Essex County, some of the desirable towns there, Maplewood, South Orange, Montclair, the tax rate can be closer to 3%. So $1 million properties, you might be paying $36,000, $40,000 a year in taxes, and that suppresses the pricing because you want to get into a better tax town. So, that's certainly a thing. And then with our state income tax and the way that you can't, if you're a decent earner, but you can't write off, I believe it's over 10,000, check with your accountant. But that SALT tax thing, it's making it a less affordable state to be in. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I literally, as of this morning, I told my wife we're moving to Texas, which has no state income tax. So I say it all the time. I'm moving to Florida. I'm moving to Texas. I'm moving to Tennessee. I know all the states that I would not have to pay state income tax in as those bills come around.
Well, I think you forgot about New Hampshire and Vegas.
Yep.
Nevada.
I think Delaware is one too, I want to say.
Yeah, but nobody wants to move to Delaware.
There's nothing in Delaware. Dover Raceway. That's
it's small. I mean, I got friends in Rhode Island, and that's a small state, but Delaware, I don't know. At least Rhode Island's attractive.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a strip of beach in Delaware, but that's about it. But yeah, it's definitely an expensive state to live in, but there's like, we're here because our family's here. My dad's here, my sister, my brother-in-law, my in-laws are here, and it really is a great state because it changes so much depending on where you are.
Yeah, I mean, look, for someone who really hasn't spent much time in Jersey, the one thing so many people know about Jersey is Jersey Shore,
Yep.
and that's not representative of the entire state, right?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely not a Jersey Shore character. I'm the opposite of what that would typically attract. And there's so there's towns, there's bars, there's restaurants that draw in. We call it the bridge and tunnel crowd. But yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I've been in a lot of those bars, and they are a lot of fun to have some drinks at. So yeah, there's completely different shore towns as you get further south, or actually to go back to tax rates. The lowest tax, the towns that have the lowest tax rates typically have the most expensive homes. So, and that's because they attract people with wealth because they don't like to pay taxes, or they strategize around it so they can continue to build wealth. So, whether you're at the northern part of the Jersey Shore or all the way down south to Cape May, there's certain towns sprinkled through there, Stone Harbor, Avalon. They have the best taxes in the state, and because of that, they have $3 million, $4 million, $5 million properties. And it doesn't attract the riffraff, and you can have an enjoyable experience with a little more downtime to relax in a vacation setting, as opposed to how much alcohol can I consume in the next 72 hours.
I think that's more along the lines of like who you are as a person, and people buying that bigger home, they're more along the lines of the community and not how much can I drink this weekend.
Yep. And that's a good point too, because the homes are set up for that too. So, if we're in a town like Belmar, which is where we were when I was, 24, 25, 26, that's where it gets a little rowdier. And the homes are all set up to be able to sleep 17, 25-year-old people. And they're at a price point where the carpeting's from the 80s. They don't show well. It's not a, wood panel throughout. It's not a desirable place to live, but it doesn't matter when you're just going to the beach and having drinks all day.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you get to that more community style setting and you're in the more expensive homes, it naturally just prices out my 25-year-old version of myself.
Yeah. It's basically just a vacation town, right?
Yep. And some of them we do see. So like Deal, for instance, is right on the water, and that still attracts year-round residents. And again, it's great taxes as well. So there are people, Manasquan's another one too, that people live year round. And you actually have, nice 2 acre lots, and some of them with grass in instead of just sandy, rocky lots. So there are some beautiful homes, and there are some year round communities in the shore towns as well. Asbury Park is actually similar to a Jersey City vibe, where they have a downtown and bars, restaurants, and great nightlife. That people live year round. So there's a full mix. I mean, it just depends if you want to be in a, bungalow style community or, a true downtown style community that has, 100-year-old brick buildings and stuff too. There's a lot to it. There's a lot to offer.
Now, you talked before about people going to other areas. Where are they going if they're leaving, where you are, leaving Hoboken?
Yeah, so if they're leaving Hoboken or Jersey City, they'll typically they'll stick within, like I said, the close to or on one of those rail line towns. So just to give you an example, and we joke about this, and this is why we cover that area. Those areas is we know that if somebody's leaving Hoboken or downtown Jersey City, they're probably going to move to Red Bank, Westfield, Chatham, Summit, Milburn, Montclair, Maplewood, Ridgewood, or Rutherford. Like those are essentially the towns that are like the main ones, the most expensive ones. And then from there, maybe you'll move a 10 or 15 mile radius outside of that train station, but everybody tries to kind of hover around there. That's leaving our area. Now, people who their business has always been out west, or they grew up out west, never had a need to come this way, then they're the ones that are always content being on a little further out, 30, 40 minutes away from a rail line, and never even thought about it because it doesn't mean anything to them.
Now, and the rail lines takes them into Hoboken, or all the way up to New York City.
So all the way to New York City, and even like Hoboken has a rail station that some of them stop in Hoboken, but then continue to go through to to New York City. So yeah, whenever I say the rail line, that's into Penn Station in New York. Yep. Which is right in Midtown. And then there's alternative ways to get in from there too. We have ferries that'll take you across straight to the financial district. So some people will commute, they'll drive and get to, actually Newark is a popular spot where they'll park in Newark and then get onto the PATH station too. That takes you into 33rd, or that can take you down to World Trade as well. So just depending on where you're working in Manhattan, there's several ways. And again, that's an important piece to tell your realtor or tell us if you're working with us. We need to know where you need to go, how you need to get there, and we'll help you kind of solve that problem.
Now, are there a lot of people leaving, altogether and just migrating other places? Where are they going?
So we do have a lot of baby boomers, from what I'm seeing, are actually at that point where they're we'll sell their home out in the burbs, and then they're moving down to, South Carolina, Florida, North Carolina. But I personally, the amount of, actually, and I should say I've had some people too. It's not uncommon for our area to be actually Chicago too, but it's like New York, Chicago, San Diego, LA, or Denver's actually popular too. But that's typically where people are moving. I think it's just, driven around where the jobs are, with that, the tech side of things or the finance side of things. So yeah, that's the typical of what we're seeing. I don't get, younger people going to Florida too often, or relocating to Texas or Austin or anything like that. So I did just get one recently that they got a job in Nashville, so they're going down there from New Jersey. But
okay.
Yeah.
Now, what are the things that are bringing people to New Jersey? Like, what are the industry? What are the companies that are drawing people in, as opposed to people leaving?
So again, it's that tech flip flop. So I'll get a lot of people from San Diego, San Francisco from the Bay Area. Not so much San Diego. San Francisco seems to come this way quite a bit. We do see some people from Chicago every now and then as well. And for us in New Jersey, I would say our number one driver for new people entering the state is New York City. So people leaving Manhattan and coming either to Hoboken and Jersey City, where they still have an urban setting, they still have a city feel, and they only have to commute to work maybe 2 or 3 days a week. And the commuting has much less, people actually doing it than it used to have. So it's not a miserable experience anymore. So they're coming out here. They get a lot more bang for their buck. We're getting people relocating from the West Village, and then there's also the people with kids that are just completely jumping over Hoboken, downtown Jersey City, and going more to the suburban towns, back to that rail line sort of thing that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, so you get people leaving the city just for a better community, that type of stuff.
Yeah, I found that for the most part, with a couple exceptions, anybody who is leaving the city or leaving an urban setting right now always had the plan to. This just accelerated it. It made them make that decision now, as opposed to, and my wife and I included, we were going to live in Hoboken for 5 or 6 years after having a kid and stuff, and get used to it, and then maybe go out to the burbs. But now we sold our condo in May in Hoboken, and we're sitting in a rental, just kind of hanging tight and trying to figure out what our next move may be. And it might be us staying in Hoboken or downtown Jersey City, or it might be out in the burbs, but just renting for the time being gives us that flexibility. Okay.
And that's great. And now, how has the pandemic affected you guys? More people working from home? Are you guys still doing e-learning? Some schools are active and some schools are not. And they're just shifting back to trying to do more remote learning.
Yeah, that is, so I have a baby on the way. I don't have any kids yet, so I'm not as in tune as I should be with actual what schools are doing. But from what I'm hearing is like they'll try the in-person and then it gets shut down, and some are only doing the e-learning, and parents are certainly still having a hard time with their day, because they're trying to work from home while they're trying to keep 2 kids on a computer to learn. So it seems to be that, like, that 3 to 10 is a tough age. And then once they're a little bit older than that, they'll actually just plug in, hang out with their, with their class and sit there for the day. But yeah, it's a full mix. I keep getting like the school will try it, and then all of a sudden they're shut down for 2 weeks because somebody tested positive. Yeah, I mean, and then we had always been cloud-based with, stuff like this too, and always been big on the Zoom trainings. And As far as the real estate's concerned, that's that kind of went off without a hitch. The only thing that we're missing is it gets a little claustrophobic just sitting in an apartment all day since March 13th. So
well, yeah, I mean, everybody's got their pros and cons to it. I mean, it's nice sometimes, but sometimes you miss the interaction. I know I do,
Yeah, we're a big prospecting team. So I actually was texting Andrew on my team last night, and I forget what it was in regards to, but I remember saying I missed we were talking about getting everybody together again for a call session. We used to do it was called Whiskey Fridays. So at 3:00, we'd each have like a glass of whiskey in the office, throw a football around, make our follow-ups, make our calls. We'd all prospect together and have a good time. And like that's what this is missing right now. You can't duplicate, a nice afternoon like that. Being efficient, getting things done via Zoom. It just doesn't, it works, but it's not the same.
Yeah. All right, Brett. Hey, I really appreciate you talking with us. And if anybody wants to talk more about what's going on in New Jersey or Hoboken, Brett is the person to talk to. He's a local area expert. And I appreciate your time today, and have a great weekend.
Thanks so much, man. I appreciate you getting me on, and same to you.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.